Hello everyone. Let's wait a little bit for more people to join and we can start. Just let's give them 5 minutes and then we can begin our webinar and I will tell everything what will happen today. Just bear with us. Yeah, hi everyone again. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me clearly and no problem from your side so we can make sure it's all working. Just you can maybe write in chat yes or plus icon or something. All right, so looks like you can hear me, you can see me, and let's begin. So first of all, thank you for attending our webinar, and it's a really pleasure to create something for our QA community in Dubai and all over the world, because due to COVID we can do it only online for now, but hopefully soon we will still do some meetups in Dubai. But I know that a lot of you are abroad, so we will think about something to stream it still, the same way as we do now, but not from home, from the meetup place. But that are the future plans. So the idea about community is to connect all of us, to share knowledges, and to help each other in our job, day-to-day job, in new technologies, probably find some new tools for your company and stuff like that. And of course, if you would love to participate and share something you think can be useful for others, please reach out to me or Prashanth in LinkedIn, and we are also available in Meetup. You can always write us and share your ideas. And of course, if you have anything like a suggestion about how can we improve community and stuff like that, please reach out to me and we will try to make it better, to make it effective for all of us. And yeah, thank you again. Today me and Prashanth will be the speakers, basically who are organizing all this community thing, and in the future we are planning also to launch Skype, or not Skype, Slack or Telegram channel. But step by step, let's start with our first webinar, and I'm so excited to be presenter today. I will be talking about a very interesting topic, which is non-technical. You know, nowadays people, QA people like to be involved in automation a lot and looking for new tools and becoming more technical. But as a QA, we always need to remember that the first thing that we have to do is to find bugs, and better in the future to prevent those bugs. So that's what I want to discuss today, how to actually prevent bugs from happening. I will share with you some case study that we had in my previous company. It was a real estate company, and we were building some products for it. So based on this case study, I hope it will be very clear how did we reduce our bugs by 37% and saved a lot of time by doing some new features or improving our code, refactoring, and so on. So let's start. First of all, I will describe you a problem we had. Then I will explain a little bit about what is root cause analysis itself, and solutions, with like the solution that helped us particularly to reduce our amount of bugs, and benefits. Of course, there's always a benefit, and we will be able to discuss a little bit with questions. You would be able to write it down in the chat, and I will answer all of them. But bear with me, it's limited time. We don't want to stay here till tomorrow, so yeah. We'll try to make it 1 hour at least. So when I joined my previous company, it was a real estate portal where you select properties and you can call the agent, find the desired property, and so on and so forth. So when I joined mobile team, and the first problem I found was hundreds of bugs. They were just coming all the time, and sometimes I was spending half of the day just to raise the bugs, which was not really effective because I had to do some other stuff as a QA. But yeah, that's what I needed to spend my time for. So I thought, like, okay, we have to do something with it. And what we plan to do is to find some tool, methodology, some discussion, how can we prevent all those bugs to happen, because developers were also spending all their time fixing those bugs, and they didn't have time to build new features in a proper way. They didn't have time for unit tests, they didn't have time for refactoring the old code, and so on. So I asked myself a question, okay, why is it happening? Like everyone is so nice here, knows the coding, but why a lot of bugs are coming? I thought maybe they don't follow requirements or designs, maybe they don't see my tests which I'm writing before they even finish their development of the feature. Sometimes we had like 10 even more bugs per story. Let's say if we are talking about story complexity, 5 story points or 3 story points, 10 bugs was way too much. And yeah, like there were no unit tests, most probably. I didn't know by then, but that's what I was wondering. And developers, I thought they didn't test their code. And like they were moving tickets to QA, but I didn't see that they were actually proper one. Just a second, I see in the YouTube that my presentation is moving for some reason. Let me fix that fast. Do you see another slide of my presentation, or only first one? If you can tell me in the chat, please. All right, I think it's fixed now. Apologies for that. And yeah, so let's continue. So like I started thinking, okay, what can be done in this case? What we can do to stop having all these issues? And of course, I went to Google and checked that a lot of companies are using root cause analysis. So I started digging deeper. What is it, and how can we reuse it in our company, in our team, to help ourselves to save the time? And first of all, I want to tell you, in case you don't know, about the root cause analysis. Just a second. Presentation is not in English. Just a second. What about now? I think now it's the proper one. Sorry for that. Anyway, so we are mixing a lot of presentations, so it happens sometimes. Apologies. So yeah, let's continue about the root cause itself. What I wanted to say is that root cause is the methods of problem solving used for identifying the root cause or faults of problems. It's just the sentence from Wiki, but the normal words, if we'll use normal words, it will be something like, okay, we will answer the question why exactly this bug happened. Not like we just fix it blindly, but yeah, we need to understand what is the actual problem of this bug. Maybe fixing this actual problem will help us to not to have it in future. That is the purpose. So yeah, I can see the non-English words. I will give you some lesson in Russian today. This is techniques, but in another language. So you learned new words today. When I was searching for root cause analysis techniques, I saw several of them. Like the most popular and most commonly used as for me was 5 whys, Fishbone diagram, and Pareto chart. So I will tell you slightly about them. But of course, if you want to know it more deep, you can ask me, or you can basically Google it. So like 5 whys technique, it's mainly for checking the problem by asking why 5 times. Yeah, it's funny to say 5 times, but still it's kind of helpful technique, because we as a team digging deeper inside the problem and asking ourselves why 5 times. And at the end, the outcome should be the root cause of this problem. This technique is pretty old, and the funny part is that it was invented by Sakichi Toyota. Maybe it's obvious that he was working in Toyota company, and actually they're still using this technique right now. But what I was wondering about is the Toyota company was not actually a software company. It was a production, right? They were doing like motors and automobile, and it was invented in 1930, but it became more popular in 1970s in that company. So that is how they prevented a lot of defects in their product, in the cars itself, with this particular technique. So I was wondering, okay, we can use this technique, but let's see any more techniques that are available in the market. The other one is Fishbone diagram. It was also in that part of the world where people like to invent some cars, but it was in Kawasaki company. Some people name this technique or diagram or tool, they call it Ishikawa diagram. So the point of this is it's like a fishbone, right? So as you can see based on the diagram, and the point of it is that we put in the head of the fish the problem we want to solve. So in this case, I put a problem related to software, but as you can understand, Kawasaki is not a software company, so it was also invented in production companies. So as example, low developer velocity. Okay, how can we fix it? We need to understand why is it happening. And then we divide by categories the problem itself. Initially, there were like 6 categories in the Kawasaki company itself. It was methods, machines, people, materials, measurements, and environment. Because it was related to production and man work, it was also important. But people in software companies, they made it a little, slide is not going forward. That's weird. Let me try again. Maybe Mark is given a fun part. Let's see. Might be some delay. Let's wait a little bit. So yeah, once you see the slide, it will be, now it's here. Probably I shouldn't open my presentation full screen. Not sure why it's happening with Mac today, but sorry for that. Anyway, so the fishbone diagram, the problem is in the head of the fish. And then we have methods, code, people, and systems. So the team divides the categories themselves. They just select the categories they think it's applicable for their product. And based on each category, like as example in this category, method, code, people, and systems, they just do like more detailed steps in more detailed steps for each category, and they dig inside each category to understand what they can do to fix the initial problem. And Pareto chart, it's also the other technique that can be used for root cause analysis. So Pareto chart is about defining the categories where bugs can appear. As example, functionality defects, testing coverage, coding defects, and so on. So based on the project you are working on, you just you understand where most of the defects appear. So it can be design, it can be some other stuff. So in Pareto chart, they usually divide defects by category, and then they prioritize it, because you cannot fix all defects all the time. And let's say if you have like first three category which has most of the defects, you can fix them at first, because that's how you will fix, most probably prevent most of the defects in those categories. And then you can take a look later with another categories in the future, based on how often the defects will appear. And after reviewing all these techniques, I was wondering, like, what if we will mix it together and define some technique for ourselves? So what we did is we combined 5 whys and Pareto chart technique. So in this case, I will explain on the case study itself how exactly we did it. So I hope that will be helpful. So first of all, we decided to define the categories themselves. And the categories were based on our team and our product we are working on. Of course, it can be different categories per each project, per each product as well. So for us, we gathered as a team, and on the meeting we were thinking, okay, where we have the problems, and what are the bugs we have, what categories can be over there. And doing that, we defined slightly more than 10 categories, but we realized that we need to have around 10 categories from the start, so that it will help to not to have a lot of data, like 20 categories, get confused because you are just starting it. Like examples of categories we made, I will explain just to give you an idea, but of course it will be different for everyone. So we had basic scenario spec. It was about developer not following the requirement itself. We figured out that developers were not actually looking in the user stories time by time, and they were doing whatever they like to do. Somehow, I'm seeing some questions, so I'll answer it on the way, since we're on the same slide. Bug categories already defined over TFS, Jira, so no need to define. I'm not sure what do you mean, John Doe, but what I'm trying to say is the root cause itself is, like, the way we wanted to use it, it needed to be more like customizable for our team to make the best of it, right? And as example, bug was due to coding error, or business logic error, or UI error. Okay, let me explain the categories we defined, but it was not only the business logic or UI error, because we wanted to, for ourselves, we wanted more information, more detailed information in this case. So saying that we defined requirements, bugs, but we wanted to divide it just to see what exact areas are affected most of the time. So like spec, test, design, localization. Spec, it's when developer is not looking at the requirements, so we can actually check how many defects do we have in this category, and we had a lot for some reason, and do some actions, which we will talk about it later. Then scenario test, which means that developer is not looking for happy paths when testing his code and moving the ticket to QA. Basic scenario design, it's about developer not following the design. That's why defects are occurring, and they are not like when QA finds a defect which not much in the design, we select this category. Basic scenario localization, since we're in Dubai, we were testing both languages, English and Arabic. So that was actually an important part for us, because if localization is not working, if Arabic doesn't work in the place where Arabic language is pretty much widely used, that was also a big part for us. Older version of OS, as I was said before, we had mobile applications, and we were capturing the defects. They were reproducible on older versions, because it's very common for mobile applications overall, and especially on Android, because we have a lot of different configurations itself, and we wanted to capture all of them. Legacy, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, old code that we inherited from the past. Third-party library, in our apps we were having different libraries, and yeah, we were just tracking all those defects to understand if we maybe switch the libraries to something else, if it's a buggy thing. Migration, I think it's also self-explanatory, like when you migrate data or you migrate from old code to the new code and stuff like that. Undefined scenario, that was actually a tricky one, because a lot of times, not a lot, but pretty often, we had scenarios that we didn't think on our planning, as example. So that helped us, I will talk about it in future, but that helped us to improve our process and plan properly, groom the stories, and really dig inside each requirement to find all possible scenarios together as a team. Lack of test cases, that was mainly for QA to see if that test case is that test suite they're writing is actually good enough to test the functionality and probably improve it all the time if there are a lot of defects because of that. Lack of design, that means that designer or us as a team didn't ask designer to design proper mock-ups for particular features. Sometimes they were missing, sometimes edge cases were missing, so we were learning from it how to do it from scratch without all this analysis in future. Integration itself, when we were integrating different components, and non-clean code, that was from developers. They were capturing it when the code was not really written, not really with best practices, and themselves they were doing some refactoring later. And we had a category other, that was for specifying something that doesn't fall into any of those criteria, so that we could probably invent another criteria or see what other defects are there. And we documented all categories and added their description, and we used Jira, Confluence page for that, and that helped us a lot. But if you don't use Jira, like maybe you use Azure or some other tool, you can still have Wiki, or you can even document it in Excel if you don't use any tool. So the point here is to document all categories and its description for everyone in the team to understand. And if they forget, they can always come back there and basically just have a reference anytime they select the root cause. For your questions, I will answer it after the presentation, so we will not interrupt the flow, okay? I will answer all of them. And after that, after documentation, we also made in Jira root cause field mandatory. I'll explain why. When we agreed with developers that, okay, that is the field, it's good to have it, but we didn't want to make it like mandatory. We were thinking, okay, let's not force people, and people will remember themselves to do it and stuff, but it was about 40% of the total amount of defects that were missing the root cause. So yeah, after that, when we realized that everyone is forgetting it, not everyone, but sometimes they are forgetting it, we decided to have it mandatory. So anytime developer is moving the ticket from development to QA, they will just have it mandatory, and they cannot move it until they select root cause for it. So it helped us to collect all data for us. And that's an example of the diagram that was generated later after each sprint. I'll explain a little bit more on it. So for us, we had a 2 weeks sprint, and we selected it as an iteration for our root cause. For us, it was enough defects to analyze. So at the end of each sprint, QA was preparing the diagram based on the data in the sprint. So basically just operating the data with bugs. You were just creating a diagram, and based on the categories, I was just doing this type of diagram, but you can do any type you like and find useful. And based on it, we see the percentage of bugs in each category. Here we see missing root cause. That's what I was saying in the previous slide, that I was measuring that developers are missing it or not. And actually the action point after missing root cause was to have the field mandatory, And after that, we as a team were doing the discussion about this on retrospective. Yes, retrospective is not really for this particular reason, but for us we decided to have it end of retrospective because we had lack of time. Overall, we had a lot of meetings a part of this, so we just wanted to combine it. But of course, if you have enough time and team doesn't mind, you can do a separate meeting to discuss root cause and analyze everything. So during this discussion, QA were presenting the diagram, the bugs themselves, and we were taking the first 3 categories as per Pareto chart. We decided to take 3 categories because that's what we could fix in the next sprints, like due to our velocity. And 3 categories with highest number of the defects, that's what we was taking. After that, we were implementing technique 5 whys, where we were digging inside each category and understanding what exactly happened, why we have it, what we can do for it, like 5 whys, why it happened, why it happened, why it happened. Then after that, when we already had some calls as a team, that was a team discussion, not only QA development, it was also UI designers, UX designers, PO or BA, whatever you have team members in the team. After that, we were defining the action points, because to discuss it, it's one half of the job, right? But we need to do something in order to prevent defects in the future. So we were having the action points per team member. Let's say if that was related to developer or UI or QA or PO, the action points were written in Confluence after each meeting on the retrospective page, but you can also have a separate page for that. And the main point was to check that action points are actually executable, like we do something about it. So we were checking action points on the next retrospective, if it was done or not. And if it wasn't done, we were actually discussing why it wasn't done and what is the blocker, what can we do. In our team, PM was controlling it, but of course you can kind of have anyone to do it. But for us, it was like, okay, since PM is managing the project, it's kind of makes sense to manage this part too. So I will give you an example on action points based on the diagram I was sharing, just to give an idea of it. So for us, it was like 30% of bugs due to version of OS. That was actually funny because when I joined the company, it was my first project in mobile team. Like I never tested mobile. So of course I didn't know like all small points in mobile testing itself. The team was newly formed, and some people also didn't know like testing aspects of it like that deep. And of course we were in rush due to big releases, like every time is happening in the big companies. So for us it happened because we didn't test the beta version of iOS. I think that time it was new iOS 12, if I'm not mistaken. And when iOS 12 was released, I think it was even 13, sorry. So when iOS 13 was released, everyone was like, okay, new release, no problem. So we didn't check our app. But then we started getting a lot of crashes in our crash report, and I was like, okay, what's happening? We didn't even push anything. Turned out that iOS people, Apple company, when they did this major release, they changed a lot of UI components that our app was using, and because of that, a lot of, and dark mode as well, it was introduced. And because of that, we got a lot of crashes because like we were using a lot of native components. Our app was native app. After that, we realized that okay, that shouldn't be this way, and so we analyzed what we can do. And based on this data that we saw about versions, that it was failing all the time and a lot of crashes and stuff, we decided to have a little process for these major releases for Apple and also Android, just in case. And we were downloading beta version when it's available in the market for developers, and updating Xcode to it, and we were testing the app if everything is fine. If not, like if something is not fine, we were fixing it before like the major release goes to the users, end users. And of course, we documented the steps of the confluence. So anytime, every year, we were doing this beta testing of the iOS app, and also when Android were given a beta version of the new Android version, we were also doing the same, just to be on the safe side. But for some reason on Android it never happened. But you never know; it can happen anytime. So the second category, based on the percentage, was legacy, 17.4%. Here we like it's basically what can you do with legacy? It's refactoring usually. In our case, it was, and unfortunately, the high management, they usually want new features to come, but they never pay attention to the refactoring part, because it needs resources, people, time, money, and everything, right? But when we realized that we have pretty much good percentage of bugs due to legacy code, which means we need to do something with it, because like when we will grow and add more features, it might break more stuff. And that's data we showed to high management and got approved for refactoring itself. And we had a dedicated resource once per week, 1 day per week, who was doing a refactoring, the whole thing. Not the whole thing, but the components we wanted to refactor. Good part about legacies was that we were specifying, if there is a legacy defect, we were specifying, okay, what component was it in, so that we could see what components are more buggy and need more attention for now, because we were always needed to prioritize it as well. So saying that, what benefits we saw for ourselves after all this? First of all, we calculated it, and it reduced 37% of defects performing this RCA mechanism. And if you calculate it in days, it's kind of 1.5 sprint, because like to raise a bug, to give it to developer, to fix it, to do code review, all this needs time. And if there are like hundreds of bugs, needs a lot of time. But when you see like 1.5 sprints save time, you understand that you might just implement 3, 4, 5 features, depends on velocity, and it will be more productive than just fixing bugs all the time, which is boring for developers as well. Another point was that team was aware of where bugs are occurring, so it gives the clear picture to everyone. Like if you come to any team member and say, okay, why do you have this much bugs in that component? Let's say if technical lead come and ask this, you always have an answer, because you know what part of it is kind of having problem more and what is less. And when developing a new code, you also pay attention to it, so you avoid, or you kind of making it carefully, the coding itself from developer point of view, and also you test it more careful, because you know that that part needs some special attention. And as I said on my previous slide, it was a good evidence for upper management to prioritize our teamwork as well, because mainly we were getting requests to add new features and other new features and other new features, but adding new features was breaking, like due to legacy, was breaking a lot of stuff as well, and we were spending a lot of time. And so once we showed the data itself, how many bugs we have, what is the percentage, and that's why we need to refactor it, actually, our code, old code. High management was actually approving it and saying, okay, that's the resource and you can do it right now. And this data we were also reusing for personal mentoring, and managers or team leads or mentors were discussing particular points with their employees. It was not finger pointing. It's not like, oh, you did bad here and here, but it was given a clear picture how to improve yourself as a person, like as a professional. And this data was pretty much useful to show and prove like what can be done and do some actions. So that's pretty much it. Let me answer some questions that were already in the chat. Design velocity arrow in the different shape. Not sure what do you mean by velocity arrow, sorry. Bug categories already defined. Okay, that's what we were talking. We can create Pareto charts on the basis of those bugs categories. Yes, so again, it's a mix of Pareto chart and 5 whys, because we created categories like for ourselves. We didn't want to use any defined one, because I believe the project is unique. Each project or product is unique. So when you define the categories that suits particularly your project, it's kind of more valuable than you just use generic stuff, because sometimes you will just add, you might not understand what category to add if it's not suiting your project. Because let's say in Fishbone, like I was saying, there were like 4 categories: people, materials, like, okay, in software, what material will you use, right? It's a bit, complicated in this case. So we decided to create our own categories to make it customized for our own team, so that we can achieve the better quality of our data in this case. Your first 3 types can be merged into one, have limited categories. Let me explain you a little bit on this part. So actually it was one category. We call it basic scenario. Basic scenario name was like team liked it, and that's why we called it this way. But we realized that we had a lot of bugs under this category, and we divided it to see more specific points, what exactly is happening. That's why we wanted to see, so what's happening? Person doesn't look in the test. Okay, are there any tests written before person finished the development? If yes, okay, so we identify what's happening and how can we improve it. The same in design, like say person didn't look in design because there were no design, or they were like person was lazy to look at design, or something happened. And based on this, we were identifying like what exactly happened in this requirements scenario, because basic scenario, it was mainly about requirements overall. That was the main point. Please repeat non-clean code. So for non-clean code, in our case, we wanted this category for developers only, because it was mainly about the coding itself, and they wanted to use the best practices all the time, and that's how they were identifying where if their code is good or not really. So when they was writing non-clean code, as example, as a category, they were having a comment. We had also comment field just for any note you want to leave, what component exactly had it. So that was for future refactoring, and probably if you can identify who was writing this code, it was also for teaching purposes, like, okay, how it should be, how it shouldn't be. So that's how you learn best practices in it as well. And also they were using it for unit tests as well, not only the code. For them it was comfortable to track it in development, only in developer team. So that category was mainly coming from them, just for them to make a better code, better unit test, better communication between each other. Okay, any other questions? You can write it down in the chat. Because if no, then we will move to the second speaker, Prashanth. Okay, let's wait another minute, so we will set up the second speaker. Okay, so now we will move to the second speaker, Prashanth. He will probably introduce himself better than me, and he will tell us about a cool tool, not a tool actually, but library that he implemented for doing API testing. Just give us a little time. We will connect to the streaming. Connect him to the streaming so we can slightly.
Hi everybody. So nice to see you all here, and just want to know if I'm audible to you. Just write in the comments so that I get confirmed with that. Okay, thank you. So this is our first meetup that we did in online because of the COVID, and we will make it like a physical meetup in Dubai, and I'm so happy that we are here online to do sharing sessions, and we learn technically and non-technically all about the QA stuffs. And to start with from myself, I am Prashanth, and about me, I have written 4 open source projects, 3 in Ruby and 1 in Python. And also I have written a book in 2015. It's about Selenium. It's Selenium Essentials. And I'm more passionate about automation. And currently I'm working in Selenica as a QA lead. And I've been here in Dubai for the past 4 years. And yeah, this is all about me. And today, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to share with you guys is about an open source project that I have developed last year, and I find it very useful, and I would like to share with you guys. It's about API tool, and before starting with that, I would like to tell why I really wanted to write this project, and I'm like making it open source for others. So, so generally we write API tests. There are a lot of struggles that we face. So sometimes it takes much time for us to write tests, and it will be like so hassle for the new people who wish to learn the API testing and all. So what I did is like making the framework very easy, so that a library itself acting like a framework, so that you can do all the validations, all the config inside a single tool itself. You don't need to look for lots of third-party tools, so that it will be bringing more hassle for you if you grow your test by day to day. So there are a lot of tools, useful tools online, like Rest Assured. Generally, people use it for like Java automation. But my solution is way different from other tools. It's more like, you can say, like a Rest Assured, but this is which I find more useful compared to Rest Assured. I got feedback from others which is really helpful, and I'm also fixing bugs, getting support from the community, and people actually taking this and they are working for themselves in a lot of companies across the globe. So this session, it won't be much like theory. It will be more like a practical session, and you would love this, and I would like to take it forward from the start. This is the rubygems.org, where you can find this API, client API. So this tool, it's like almost like 20,000 downloads already happen, and I would like to go forward with the basics, how I set up this project, so that like a newbies can understand, like a layman can understand how this framework actually works as like a library. So if you have any questions, please write in the comments. I'll be taking the questions by time whenever I see, whenever I find like I can share the questions, like answers. I'm using RubyMine for the test. So it's basically, this tool is written with Ruby. So I would like to create a new project. So this framework is actually written on top of, is actually written for the RSpec framework, and this framework is not depending on any other tools, and it's written from the scratch. We don't have any dependency on any other tools. So what I do is, like, I'm coupling this library with the RSpec framework. So, but generally you need to create a small framework that you can actually write. Let me spec. So I am initializing RSpec in this project, so that you will find these files. Generally you will get these files created when you put RSpec in it. So this spec helper is more like an environment file where you can put the config. This, when you run the RSpec, this file will be initialized first. So this is like a template where we don't use these things. I will remove the unwanted files. So we are using this Ruby. So we need some libraries to be installed. Basically, client API, we need this library. So I'm creating a gem file where we can put all the gems that we actually need in the project. So we need the client API, and of course RSpec, because it's working on top of RSpec. And then I use bybug for debugging. So this is generally coming from the source of Ruby. So we need to give the source link here, and then we have to run bundle, so that it will be installing all the libraries actually required for it. So you'll find the gemlog file here with all the dependencies in here. So we have installed these libraries that's required for the testing. So we need to import these libraries in the spec helper, so that we can use it and to go forward. So I would like to show you So these are generally we are using like a record, client API, RSpec, and this. Oh, sorry, a mistake happened. Mm, Sorry, actually I started the project, but you couldn't see the video. 1 second. It should be visible now. Code should be okay now. Yeah, I think it should be visible from now. Sorry, my bad. So again, I will start from the first. So I create a project. Let's say test. So sorry for not sharing the screen. I think it is visible right now. Yeah. So I gonna initialize the RSpec since we are using the RSpec framework. So right now you will see the files here. So our spec helper is more like an environment file. So this file is going to be executed at first. So I just now created a template of this initial files that we needed. So it actually created a lot of bulk data which actually we don't need it. So I am removing everything from here. And we need a gem file to store the libraries, and then we can install them one by one. So here what we need is we need to download all the libraries from a source called rubygems.org. So I need to specify it here, and then you have to mention the client API, the tool that we are going to use it, and then we are using RSpec, so of course we need to show it here. And then I'm using bybug, which is like a breakpoint, like a debug. We can use it, so I'm using it. So in order to install it, you have to 1 second. Okay, I'm so sorry. 1 second, let me check. Is it visible now? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay. So what I did is I installed the I did the basic setup for RSpec. So this spec helper got created automatically. So what I did is I just added this client API, RSpec, and bybug, and then I have to run bundle install, so that it will be installing the libraries that we need. Actually, up to this I did it. I think you get it clearly what I have shown so far, right? So from here, what we have to do is we need to import some libraries that we already installed. So what I'm going to do is I go to the spec helper. I need to install these libraries. I need to import it like this. RSpec, bybug if I want, and then you can see it here like additional JSON that we use in the inside the project. And also, if you want to like put the breakpoint inside the project, that I use focus. uh, so so what I'm going to do is like copy a few things from the project inside our project. So I use this focus for the breakpoint, and then I get the Clinet-api configuration that actually I set up internally in the project. So this is the setup made inside the API itself, the Clinet-api itself. We did some setup. This is very very important. Like, even though if you don't have this configuration, you can do everything inside the test, but these are very very important for important, so that you don't need to give repetitively give the base URL every time, or the headers you don't need to repetitively give every time. Some of the project has basic auth, so you can config here directly, like basic auth. And for JSON output, I will explain you why we use a JSON output. And the timeout, why we use is like if there might be some delays in getting the response when we hit the API. So I put like 10 is the max timeout. So if it crosses more than 10 seconds, it will automatically fail the test. And also loggers, we have very good loggers that we can use it. I think it's clear till this. So let's go with some tests that I have written. So I already have written some tests which I will show you one by one, but it's easy to copy, and then I explain you the functionalities of these library. So I have a set of tests that I have already created for the library. Also the data I need to import. So generally, if you want to run rspec test, what you have to do is the command rspec space and the spec folder. So it will be running all the tests one by one. The dots you see in here is each test scenario. So I have a set of test cases here. So each test are being run, and you get the output here. It's very simple. Like previously in my experience, like I have faced a lot of issues with API testing with other tools. So I want to scale up writing the tests much faster, like 200 to 300 test cases on the same day. So that is the reason that I actually moved creating a tool by myself, and this tool really helped me to really scale up writing the test, like 200 tests on the same day. It's very easy to create test cases. I will show you how easy it is. So you would love to see this framework and the test. So first, like I already shown, like a spec helper. This spec helper is more like an environment file for the RSpec. So whenever you execute the RSpec tests, so what happens actually is this spec helper will be initialized first. So there is something called like a .rspec, which actually it is very very mandate. The spec helper is very very mandate. If you are using Ruby, you will know it. And this configuration is specific to this Clinet-api, and these base URL headers, basic JSON, timeout, and logger. Apart from this, I don't have any other config, so it's very easy and simple. I will show you how it's making a difference in your regular API testing world. So let's say I take this test. So let me put a focus so that I can run only this test, because I already configured this in the spec helper here, so that it will be like debugging only this test case. So when I run, it will be running. So I'm going to play with this test case first. So let's say I have the base URL this. So if I don't give the base URL, it's okay, since I have already given the full URL here. So I don't really worry about if I want to give the base URL here or not. So if I run the test, it will be working fine without any issues. If I remove it, of course it will fail. The test will be failing because there is no base URL, so it will throw like there is some issue in it. So if I give the base URL here, it will automatically fix it and it will be executing the test. So it's like an optional, you can have this base URL here. Likewise, if you want the headers to be ignored here, and if you want to put the headers here, that's also perfectly okay. Like you can put this in here, so it will be like a direct implementation inside the test itself. So I create an object here and then I call this object. So it's pretty easy for you, like handling this. And in case if you use you can think like you already mentioned all these headers in sorry, this is basic headers here. So you may think like you have already given the headers here, and why if you give the headers again here, it may be like duplicating again and again. It's not actually duplicating it. If there is a header which matches again, it's if it's kind of like a duplicate, it actually ignores taking this header. So if there is any additional header, it actually takes additionally, it takes in, and like an array, it's getting as an input. So we don't need to actually worry about it. If you don't give this part in here, you can actually additionally you can give here, so it is actually working good with it. So it's like an optional way of calling the headers. Likewise, there is one more lot of advantages using these kind of configs. I will show you clearly, especially this JSON output. What happens is, let me remove this focus and let me run as a whole. So let me put back. Got some issue here. So what happens is, when you execute your test, if there is a request with a response output, it automatically save all the response output like a JSON file in here, so that whenever you need to like a debug things, what's happening in the response, you can directly go here and then you can easily know what the problem is. So there is a big advantage of bringing it like an output, because if you want to do some kind of assertion, you can directly copy from here and then you can do some assertions inside the test. I will explain you slow by slow like how this works. So you need to really understand how the library works. So I wish to go through this library in the from the GitHub directly. So that you will understand the benefit of this library. So what generally this library does is, like, you can do all the get request, like post request, delete request, whatever it is, all the requests you can do it, and you can return the response body, everything. And additionally you can do all sort of validations in here. So this validation plays a big role in here. So there are different types of validation, like if you want to make sure a key, let's say there is a key and a value. If you want to validate the key as well as the validate the value, you can do it easily. And there are different ways, approaches. I have used it. I will explain you one by one in this session. And also you can validate the direct JSON, like a JSON body you will be getting. So this body you can make some alternations. Let's say this is the actual and this is the expected. So you can make few modifications to make sure that you can check like if it's actually working or not. But so in reality, when you work with a real application, it is very easy and simple. Like you can dump this in a JSON file and then you can directly validate as well. And also you can validate the schema of it, like a data type, whether the data type is actually coming correctly or not, like that. And also you can test the validate the sorting, like ascending, descending. These sorting you can easily do using validate list method. And also validate headers, like response headers. If you want to make sure the response headers are properly coming or not, you can do it. I will explain this clearly in a real time, practically. I will explain you so that you will understand more about it. Yeah. So here, so we have a lot of methods that we have created inbuilt in this library. I wish to, if you wish to check everything, you can easily go the bug it, and then you can find all the methods using API.public methods, so that you can find all the methods that we have inbuilt in this library. So this validation, if you feel like it's more hard to understand like what are the validations we have in this library, we can easily go here and we can find it. So let's go inside the topic. This is just now we started the topic, so that we will learn one by one how this validation everything works in here. I wish to take this JSON body template, which will be comfortable for us. Let me remove this here. So if you see in this test, I have given the direct JSON here, like a payload, instead of giving the JSON directly. So if you go here, you can directly point out this JSON in here directly like this, so that it will automatically pick from a file. Why I have made this kind of thing, payload thing, is because there might be a long body you have to give as a request sometime, so that it will be very ugly in the code level if you give it directly like a post of URL comma blah blah. So it will be like it is not that good to put write big text inside the spec file. So what I did is I created a JSON file, and directly you can link it here, so that it will be it will be very clean code. So if you see, the test ran perfectly. So you will find output as well in here. This is the output you see here. If you want to use a direct a JSON file, you can directly give it like this, and then you can run it. It's also making sense. It's also doing the same job because it's the same. So this is the output, this is the response that we obtain from here. So what I'm going to do right now is to show how this validation actually works. So generally everybody love to do the JSON validation, which I love to do as well. So API.body returns a response body, and then this is the output. Just you go here, just execute the test, you will get the response here. Just copy it from here and then just paste it here and then execute your test. It's very simple, like it's very simple and much faster, and then you can do modifications in here. So if I run the test, it will definitely fail, because here we have given the time. It's creating the response with the time, so it will, of course, it will show the error here, like expected this, and but what got is different. So what I'm going to do is I'm removing this and again running. Again it will fail, because the ID is also like see, it's clearly expecting it's a dynamic ID that's been created. So what we got is the one that I put it like a static. So I'm again removing this. So again I'm running the test. This time the test will pass because it's taking this field, this key, and the key value is perfectly matching with the output. So this field is perfectly matching, so you can directly do like a template copy paste, or you can do some modifications, like if it's a single key also it does actual assertions. Even it will pick each and every field in the response, so it's very clearly it will pinpoint the issue. And also if it's a big tree kind of response, it's also it will definitely assert those fields as well. Even if it is an array or multiple trees, it will definitely find the flaws, and it will report you clearly what the issue is. It's more like a template kind of testing. It's very easy. You can write a lot of tests very quickly using this kind of validate JSON technique. And the next the generic test that I want to show is like the normal validate part. What you have to do is let's say this is name, what is Prashanth Sams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to validate this key and key value. So what I have to do is provide is a key. This is like a inbuilt keyword that I have used. So key is name. So name, here this I took this key as a name, and then I test with a value Prashanth. So when I run my test, actually it will pass, because what it does is it automatically picks the operator equal to. So it automatically picks the operator equal to. It's optional. If you want to give not equal to, then it will throw error. So it is like you want to put an assertion, like a failing case, you can make it. So it will show you like it is not matching. It's not actually matching. So this is how this works. So if you don't like these kind of operators, if you want to do like English text, you can do as well. I think equals or equal, sorry, right. I have some set of booleans that I created. Okay, I have used these keywords for it. So it should be equal or equal question mark equal. So these many things I have used in here. Let me switch back. So if you want to use not equal, then you can use these operators. Greater than means you can use these. Generally I use the greater than for the integer, and the equal for the string I am using it. And if you want to use not contains, you can use like this. Contains is like a string, part of a big string. So you can do these kind of operators in here. Like if I want to check Sams inside the value, which is like a contains, it will definitely pass the test. If I put something inside, then it will fail test. So there are a lot of advantages. You can write a lot of tests very quickly and simply. So you will ask like you have tested only one key, why don't you try to automate, why don't you assert multiple keys in the same test? Of course you can do it. How I do is like you can make a replica of the same thing. What we actually did is the name assertion, you can use the ID. So I am picking a key as ID, and then value I don't want to test it because it will be always dynamic. But what I can do is I can check for the type, I mean the data type. So data type should be integer. So here it is string because it's inside the quotes, so I have to put string. So let's see. So equal to operator is by default it works. So here the test works. Let's say if I give integer, so it should be failing actually. So it will throw the error like it should be string, but you have given integer. So in this case it actually throws error. So like this you can even write for the same key you can have multiple scenarios. Like I took only the name, but I can put like Prashanth Sams. For the same key you can have multiple assertions here, so that it is very quickly you can write this test, and very simple. And yeah, let's say and it's not by stopping by here. There are too many additional things that we have. 1 second, I'm running it. So it ran. So there are a lot of additional advantages we have in this default validation. Let's say if there is a key actually available in the in the response or not, or if there is a key which is not available, we can validate that as well. If we have to make sure this key should be always present in the response, we can do this kind of validation as well. I use this kind of hash key is equal to true, and also I want to make sure the key shouldn't be empty at all. So if I don't want the key value to be empty, I have to set like true. So we will see this in reality. And also okay, I see there are too many questions have been asked in the middle. I am checking the comment section, sorry. Thanks for the link, but the question is, how is this client driver different from others? Okay, let me go up. There are a lot of questions. Can you share the sample project? Yeah, I do have the sample project. Let me share you the link. So there is something called a spec inside this project. So there is an example you have. This is what you actually asked for. How exactly this client, okay, again I'm going back. How exactly is this client library different from REST Assure or Java Jersey? I don't know about Jersey project, but I know a bit of REST Assured, but I haven't worked much about it. But my friends, most of my colleagues actually worked in this REST Assured. So they found it very complex compared to Clinet-api. So I got some inputs, lot of inputs from different testers like you, and that's how I improved this library. So still there are too many things that I want to show you guys, so that you will know. If you already worked with REST Assured, you will definitely know what's the difference in it. And what's the biggest difference with other API frameworks? This is actually not like an API framework. Like in Python there is something called request, and in JavaScript you have I don't remember, but we have different frameworks like request in different languages, programming languages, but they don't do kind of validation. It is not used for QA purpose. So if you say like a REST Assured, it's more like a similarity, but there are a lot of things that I spoke with different QAs. They say like too many missing pieces in the REST Assured, which we covered in Clinet-api. So this is what I'm explaining throughout this session. And thanks for the link, but the question is are there any key features which are not among those? Since you're talking about JSON response, well, does the library have the feature of validate complete? Yeah, we have the complete JSON validation as well. Also, if there is an issue in any part of a tree or in any of the array in the response, if you make a small change, if there is a change in the response, it will it will clearly mention that there is an issue in this tree, in this field, and if there is some issues, you can clearly, it will plot the issue to you, so that it's very easy for you to test. You don't need to write long scripts, but you can make it short. You can put like a JSON expect and JSON actual JSON, so that it's very easy and the test will be very clean, irrespective of the order of the JSON objects. Okay, let me switch back to the explanation, to the practical. So I think I covered all the questions. So we were looking hash key. Let me, sorry, I have to open Rubyman again because it got expired. I got a expired version, so I have to reopen it. Of course, I need to update this in YouTube. 1 second. Is it fine? Okay, I think it's fine right now. So you mean like even if the order of the JSON objects are varying? Yes, if the order of the JSON objects varying also, it's not at all a problem. It will actually look for even if it's like order order difference, it's not at all a problem. It will actually check with, if there is an ID, it will automatically check that for this ID. Let's say I will explain you clearly here. Let's say I have something like this, and I have ID that is 667 and 668, and this name is maybe Sunil. If I want to assert this, if I give this in the validate JSON, if this is the actual and if this is the expect body, it will be passing well, no problem. But if there is a change like 660, 670, and let's say if this is Prashanth, this is the actual. In this case it will definitely fail. In this case it definitely fails, because it will make sure like, see, this ID is 670 but the name is a different person. So these kind of validation, it will check each and every field, and even if there is a problem, it will clearly mention the problem is existing in the array. It doesn't, it don't mind like if it's something like this or not. So it actually this is actually kind of like a dynamic response, and we cannot we cannot expect this from the application, and the application may bring the dynamic values, and based on the values which is like a sibling, this is also working like that. And let's go back to what we did earlier. So here I want to make sure the key exists or not. So I put like hash key true. So here the key should exist. So if there is no key, it will fail. Let's say I put some key and the value, of course you should not give it here. So I make sure the key should be there, but it's saying like, oh, this key doesn't exist. So I make sure like this response, in this response, this name key should be there. So this is like a mandatory validation that I set here. And also we can set like empty empty true, but actually it will fail because we have some value in there. So we have some value Prashanth Sams, so it is not empty. If I make it false, it will pass. So this kind of validation you can easily do it in here. And this is all about the generic validate. And let's switch to the web. So we have cleared all these things, and this is JSON, validate JSON. We have gone through it, and this is sorting. So let me check if I have an example here. Yeah, here. Let's say this one. Make it focus. So here, this is I didn't pass the response body from the API, but this is like a generic test I did here. This is actually testing the library, that's why I written, but it will be like an example for you guys to know how it is working. So in here, this is the actual value, and I am going to sort with this ID first. So 1 2 3 4 5, you can do this kind of sorting validations as well. So here we have given ascending. Let's say I set ID to be like ascending. So here ID is kind of like ascending, 1 2 3 4 5, and let's say how it works. So it works, it passed, the test got passed. Let's say if let me put like 7 in here. So let's see if it is working or not. So it failed. See here, so it is actually expecting the ID with these values like a ascending order, but the problem is the order is not properly coming. So this kind of validations also you can make it, because I did this kind of implementation because it was kind of like a request from the issues section that I got from users. So they are kind of doing this kind of validation, which will be very easy if I provide from the library itself. So this is very easy and handy for the users. And also, if you want to do assertion in the string, you can also do it. So you have to just give the name of it. I did it like int. Sorry for the name, but let's see if it is working or not. I'm sorry, screen is wrong. Again, I'm going back. I have to explain you guys what I was showing. I'm sorry. So what I was explaining is like we can do some sort of like ascending and descending kind of sorting validations as well. So if you see here in this spec, you see actual data, actual JSON. This is for the testing purpose I have. It's not returning from the API, but I did it for the library itself to test it like a unit test, like a mock I have written here. But this is the same thing that you're going to apply in the applications. So what I did is, you can see a key field called ID here. So this ID, you can see 1 2 3 4 5. So this is like an ascending. So I want to make sure this unit key is actually ascending or not. Okay, so here I pick this ID as a key, and the unit is int. So in case sometimes like, let me run it. Sometimes you want to check with the descending, then it will of course throw error. Let's say if I make it like 7 in the middle, which is not ascending or descending, it should throw error. So see here, it is actually expected to be like this, 5 4 3 2 1, but what you got is like 1 2 3 4 5. Sorry, maybe I took int. Yeah, I took this in. Let me put ID. id is what I'm testing right now, so it should be descending. Yeah, so I'm expecting something like this: 5 7 5 4 3 2 1. So 7 should be on the top and 5 4 3 1, but what I got is like 1 7 3 4 5. So of course this is wrong and it fails. Same way you can do this kind of testing in the integer as well as in the string. So both ways you can do it. So that's the reason that I purposely kept it like a integer, that string as well as integer, so that you can see the difference. And we can validate easily through this validate list method that you have to use it. And let me go back to the GitHub and the headers validation. So the headers validation, generally we do kind of validate the headers in some cases. Some companies they are doing it, even I was doing it earlier. So these kind of headers response also you can validate it using validate headers. So whatever we have seen is pretty more commonly used throughout all the organizations. Everybody uses, like sometimes we may get some additional validation, and if in this case you can please feel free to raise a ticket in the issue section, so that I'll be happy to take it, and I'll be helping you guys. And a lot of people started using it, and I have seen it like I getting more pull requests from different people, and I'm so happy for it. Few things I may miss it. I want to brush up with you guys. Sometimes you may ask like you are validating with a key in a default key validation, key value validation. You may ask like there may be a tree or array in the validation. How you do it? So in that case, like the array goes like 0 1 2 3. I put it like this arrow like a chevron, forward arrow, and then I give this this array value, and then I give the next tree. So this is how, or it can be like a field. So tree, arrays, it can be easily handled, and it's like a separator. You have to give it. Let's say this is a posts 1, and let me show you so that you will understand where I use it. If this is the case, it will be like posts, and it's 1. So oh my goodness, 1 second. Yeah, I'm sorry, I stuck in the browser. Yeah, I'm taking it. Let's see. We are going to check something like this, like array, a tree, how we handle this in the project. So if in this case, like a properties data type, how I mention is like properties. Let me put here like properties, id, and type. id and type. If there is a array, then I will make it like 1 or 0, like this. So it will be like this in here. It will be sort of these like this. I would have mentioned this somewhere here. Default, yeah, right here. Like here, this is an array. So inside the array, I'm going to take the like this title. There are 2 titles in the inside the same array, but I am picking the first title. So it should be like 0 and then title. So it will be taking like this. Let me switch back to the GitHub. Yeah, and also like if you want to check the total size of an array, you can easily test it with the size. Likewise, I said, you can check the value, you can check if the key exists. There is something called size, which I specifically did to make sure if there is a tree may have a big list of key fields. Let's say, here. So inside this post you will find only one size. Inside Prashanth you will find two size. So in this case you have to mention size is 2. If you put 1, it will be failing. Maybe I have some tests inside written, yeah, here. So I mentioned 2 size because here posts has 2. See, it is greater than 0, so I have to make sure size is greater than 0. Operator should be greater than 0, like this, then it works. So size should be greater than 2. So post and 0, here it should be more than 0 or 1. It should be like that. It's also very easy to do the validation. And you have a lot of data types in here. If you come here to the GitHub, you will easily find this, and very easy for you. To be frank, in my previous company, we have written more than 1,000 test cases. Different teams, they are using the same library, and they got benefited out of it. It's very easy to write the test. Writing 100 test cases is not that heavy, and if you want to make a big coverage in a very short time, it is really amazing. You are going to finish it very quicker. And Ruby is also very easy. It's you don't need to write much codes. It is very super easy to write the test. Rather than using Java, you have to do a lot of page object blah 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 things. But here definitely you don't need anything. It's very easy, very simple. You would love to use it. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, the schema validation. So I think I said a few things about this initially. So if you want to check the integer data type, like an integer, string, hash, or something, or if you want some fields to be like a list of fields to be there, mandate like a record field, you can use this validate schema. So it's very useful that you can even if it's a big tree or some arrays, you can easily automate that using this validate schema method. You will really find it very easy and helpful. I am pretty sure that this feature is not there in the rest assured. Maybe they have it, but this is very comfortable. And then, yeah, this is the content validation. Yeah, it's fine. And that's it. And I wish to see the questions if anybody asks. I'm checking. Thanks for playing. Thank you. Are you showing? And that's it from my side. I wish to know if there is any feedback regarding this library. That I'm so happy to tell you each and everything. Whatever you have in mind, please throw in the comment section. I would love to answer you guys. Any questions, please. You can ask me through LinkedIn as well. You can come through Twitter as well. I would like to share it here. Maybe if you don't have it, Twitter, you can tweet me here. Yep. And that's it from my side. I'm so happy that you guys are here, and thank you for your patience. So there are a lot of upcoming webinars coming in the future. Like every month we plan to have this webinar. So please do attend. If you wish to be like a presenter, please write me or Alona, so that we will take it. And if you bring some new innovative ideas, please don't hesitate to write us. And thank you so much. See you everybody. Bye. Take care.